Hey, it's Mike over at fishyourassoff.com, and today's fishing class that we're going to do is all about how to catch a grouper. Now, most of my fishing that I do is in a 14-foot John boat, so I'm not going to be talking about going offshore too much, but I have caught a lot of grouper offshore, and I'm going to tell you the different ways that we've done it over the years, but you can catch a surprising amount of grouper inshore, even in very shallow water. It's very surprising where a grouper will go. Really, they just need some hole to hide in and ambush prey, and they're pretty happy about it if they can find just that one little thing. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about it up here. All right, as usual. What we want to cover first with whatever your target species is what do they like? And the bottom line is grouper-like structure, and they don't need much. It could just be, if it's a juvenile grouper, a small guy, maybe under 5 pounds or so, they might just be in a stone crab burrow that they've kind of made a little bit bigger for themselves in the mud. That's enough for them. Offshore, they're usually on a reef or a wreck of some sort. Inshore, it could be mangrove roots. It could just be a sunken tree with a hole underneath it. Any hole anywhere that it can fit in and back itself into and feel safe is a potential grouper spot. Bridges, any pilings, anything like that is a very good place to find grouper inshore. I like mangrove roots. If you have mangrove roots where it's a nice big drop off, so it has kind of a wall. The mangrove roots are here and there's a wall into a deep, cut. There's going to be holes in those mangrove roots, and it's a great place to jig, just some heavy jig, get it down there and jig it. Because what they're doing is, so that's my little grouper. So basically what they're doing is they're just sitting in their hole, feeling safe, waiting for some sort of prey to come by. So your jig comes and just you're jigging like this, and they'll swim out and grab it and then turn around and go back into their hole. So that's why grouper are kind of hard to catch sometimes, because you really have to set the hook and fight them real quick to get them out of their hole, or they'll just drag you in there and wedge it in. And this isn't a very good depiction, because usually they're tighter than that. They barely fit in their hole. They want it to be in case a shark or something comes by and wants to eat them, it can't get in there. So they'll have a really tight little burrow or hole or whatever it is they're hiding in, so they can be safe. So they can run out and grab their food, come back and be safe. So it's hard to get a grouper out of its hole. But once you do, it's usually fight's pretty much over as long as you have the right tackle. You just got to get them out of that hole before they turn around and come back. So you got to pay attention when you're grouper fishing to set the hook quickly and start reeling. Offshore, it's usually the same. Every time I've caught grouper, it's been the same way. You basically have a sinker that gets it down there. You're fishing some sort of reef structure or a wreck or something like that, and you drop a live bait down there and they eat it. So pretty simple as far as offshore live bait fishing for grouper. Not hard. It doesn't have to be alive either. In fact, most of the grouper I've caught have been on squid. So you just sink the squid down, happens to go in front of a grouper hole, grouper grabs it, reel them up. Most of the grouper I've caught have been these two kinds. I've caught strawberry groupers and things like that offshore, little things. But most of the decent grouper I've caught have either been Goliath and gag grouper. And that's probably because most of my fishing is inshore. I have a 14-foot John boat, so you really can't go offshore to the reefs and something like that. So I catch a lot of these guys inshore around some sort of structure, and inlets. Inlets is another great place. I should have written that down. Most of the grouper that I catch fishing with lures. They love scented baits. If you can find where they are, where those structures are inshore, you just bounce some sort of jig with a scented soft bait of some sort, you can very easily catch grouper through there. Silver spoons. I've caught them on silver spoons in really shallow water, surprisingly shallow water, maybe 4 feet of water. You find a nice ledge, like I said, and you just pull a spoon down it with the current, because usually they're going to be facing the current, waiting for prey to come by, and that's a great way to figure out where they are and catch them. Jigs, you want to any sort of jig, basically. You could even tip it with a shrimp or something like that, or some sort of white bait, some sort of threadfin herring, whatever's running, and you can put that on a jig and jig that down there by the mangrove roots or whatever it is, a sunken tree, a bridge piling, whatever you're fishing for them in. You can do it that way too. Lip diving plugs. This is a neat thing that I've done on the West Coast, up by Steenhatchee in those areas, Cedar Key. The water's, say, 15, 20 feet deep, and what they'll do is they'll pull a lip diving lure that comes down there, and surprisingly enough, these grouper will see it, feel the vibrations, see it, come up there and hit that thing. As you're trolling these lip diving plugs, it's kind of a neat way to fish for them too. It's really, really fun to catch these guys on lures. But there are plenty of grouper out there to catch. You really got to be careful about keeping them, though. The FWC, the Florida, what does that stand for? Wildlife Conservation, I guess. Whatever the FWC stands for. They're always changing the rules. When it comes to snapper and grouper, it seems like specifically, those two specifically seem to change quite a bit. So before you keep one of those, make sure you check, because it changes all the time. But there's plenty of grouper out there. People usually think they got to get in a boat and go out real far to catch grouper. There are tons of grouper. I mean, huge grouper. 100-pound Goliath grouper might be underneath some dock if there's deep water there by an inlet. So there's really big grouper inshore, surprisingly so. Gags, you go down the Everglades and just jig and drift some of those mangroves that are by deep water. You'll probably catch some gag grouper. There's tons of grouper out there. They're just in structure, and you just got to get their attention to come up and bite your whatever you're looking for. You can find most of this information on our website too. Like I said, it's www.fishyourassoff.com. There's a how-to section, there's a where-to section, where to find the fish, a what do you want to target. There's videos, there's a lot of good stuff in there. It's a website with simple tips, basically to help fishermen catch more fish. So go ahead and check out the website, www.fishyourassoff.com. But I think we're done for today. I hope this helped. I hope you learned something, and hope you get some more fish. All right, thank you.